Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Anshul, for joining us today and being part of our Uday Fin Expert session. Looking forward to having this conversation with you. But just before we move on to the discussion, I'll just give a brief intro about the Uday initiative. I'll just present my screen so everyone can have a look at the just get a visual view also in terms of what Uday is. Yeah, I think my screen should be visible now. Yeah, just to give a brief, Uday is a fintech program, fintech education initiative launched by Government of Maharashtra with the aim of providing the students avenues to pursue their careers in the fintech space by giving them relevant knowledge and skills. And Uday FinExpert session is a part of this broader Uday program only, which aims to upskill the students under the guidance of industry experts that we have from the fintech sector. So we have one of these industry experts with us today from Wintwealth, Anshul Gupta. Anshul Gupta, co-founder of Wintwealth. So prior to launching the company, he was the head of product development at Northern Arc Capital, where he structured over 250 transactions with over 25,000 crores, and he's completed his BTech degree from IIT Roorkee. So this is a broader introduction of Uday as well as the co-founder that we'll be speaking with today. Without any further ado, we'll move on to the questions to get to know the startup as well as the segment in a better way. I'll start with the questions, Anshul. So just trying to understand the segment and how wealth tech has evolved over the last few years. What are the different wealth tech models that you see being followed by the players in the current industry, and which one of them has been Windwell considered and why?
Sure. Thanks, Sanjana, for the introduction, and thanks for having me on this session. Pleasure speaking with you. So, coming to the question now, I think see tech as a space or as a sector is heating up of late. You would have seen a lot of players are doing a lot of disruptive things in this sector, and each player is following their his or her own like model or like they're experimenting with the business ideas. So you will see a lot of startups coming in the advisory sector. Few are coming in the pure distribution sector. While there is a very interesting field of startups which are looking to democratize, a lot of investment opportunities with mass affluent investors as their target customer base. Uh, on advisory, you would see someone like IND Money, who is trying to disrupt the space by offering very unique advisory programs. Then there are a few startups which are working at a slightly smaller scale, but targeting a similar business model. In terms of offering very unique investment asset classes, obviously, Wintwealth is there in this space. That's the space which we are targeting, wherein we are bringing a lot of investment opportunities which earlier were available only to institutions and family offices. A lot of these opportunities were not available even to HNIs. So what we are doing is we are trying to democratize these investment opportunities by reducing the entry barriers so that even mass affluent investors and HNIs can access these products. So our first product is something called as a covered bond. It's a fixed income debt product, which has been happening in India for now 2 3 years, but so far was available only at a ticket size more than 1 CR. What we have done at Wintwealth is reduce the entry barrier by making this product available to our investors at a ticket size as low as 10,000 rupees. So this is just one example. There's a lot of innovation happening in such a wealth tech model, wherein a lot of interesting asset classes are coming at a reduced investment amount.
Okay, that's great and good to hear that a lot of companies are coming up with innovative products of the same segment. But talking about the segment, so you did tell me that you are looking at a mass affluent segment. But say with products like covered bonds, which is something which probably not everyone would be aware about or would know what they actually entail. Is
Hmm.
there a specific segment within the mass affluent that you're focusing on, and how do you see this segment evolving over the next, say, 4 to 5 years, if you were to look at a medium-term timeline?
Right. So, mass affluent otherwise is pretty a broad term. The segment that we are targeting, our persona is a individual who is earning, who is in the 30% tax bracket and has a income between, let's say, 10 to 15 lakhs on the lower side, up to 2 crores on the higher end of the spectrum. So that's the universe of customers that we are catering to. So that's like a target customer base. Now, coming to the question on, so another question is like, why did we choose this target base only? We think like these are individuals who are sophisticated enough to understand some of the nuances of this product, are generating a regular surplus investable cash flows, a portion of which can go into these alternate investment classes, and so far have not been catered to by your traditional wealth firms who have been targeting ultra HNIs who have portfolios above 10 CR. So this is the gap which we see in the market, and these are individuals who haven't been served efficiently by present wealth tech businesses.
Right, right. That makes sense. And so over the time also, you see this segment growing all the more, because any which way, a lot of customers would be falling in this segment, the one that you are planning to serve and educate about these new investment instruments, right?
Right, right. Yes, the segment is definitely growing. I think, see, if you look at the most, apart from fixed deposits, the instrument which has penetrated most in the market is equity as a asset class. If you look at the number of individuals which are who are investing in equity in one form or other, it's still in single digits. So we are just scratching the surface. If the most penetrated product has been able to capture only less than 10% of the market, for other products, we haven't like captured even 1% of the market. So the growth potential is humongous, and over next 4 to 5 years, you will see a lot of these alternate investment classes also scaling up substantially.
Right, right. So I think that sort of answers the question that I was looking to ask you next as well, which is which are the product segments you see having high potential over the next few years, alternate investment being one of them. So
Right.
that being said, obviously Wentwealth is using a digital platform to educate customers and to provide them avenues to invest. What are the other innovation areas which you expect these wealth tech startups, including yours, to focus on in the years to come?
All right. So that I think as an asset class, you will see a lot of innovation happening in fixed income instruments.
Hmm.
Uh, if you look at some of the other advanced geographies, debt as an asset class is fairly well penetrated. Like in some cases, almost at par with the equity asset class.
Hmm.
India is a exception to this trend so far. You will see a lot of individual investors investing in equity shares, not only large caps, even like small caps, penny cap stocks, etc. But debt as an asset class, even though it has much lower risk, investors haven't explored this fully. So I think a lot of debt instruments will get democratized over next 2 to 4 years.
Hmm.
Uh, Recently, SEBI has also taken a lot of interesting steps to encourage this trend. For example, just earlier this month, SEBI, so for doing a public issue of a debt instrument, which is as good as a IPO of a debt product, a debt transaction, the minimum transaction size was 100 crores. So, with the intent to encourage more public issuances of debt transactions, SEBI has done away with the floor of 100 crores altogether. So in future, an entity can do a public issue of even a 10 CR. So it's encouraging that regulator is also nudging the market and pushing the entire ecosystem uh, in this trend of democratization of debt. So at least the bet that we are taking is debt as an asset class will become fairly democratized.
Right.
And our first product that we have launched on the platform, which is a covered bond, incidentally is also a fixed income debt instrument. And there are a lot of products in our pipeline which will be bringing over next 6 to 8 months, which again are in debt quasi equity segment only.
Right, right. That answers the question, Anshul. So just another follow up on that. So one part of the equation is, like you said, making it more accessible to the mass affluent segment, providing them in say lower ticket sizes uh, compared to what was earlier available. Second is because these products are something which not everyone is super aware of, which everyone does not know what the risks are. Do you think there'll also be an increased focus by the startups only to have education initiatives to educate customers on these new instruments which are coming up, which are evolving over the years?
All right, I think it's a very valid point. So if the ecosystem has to mature, it's not about making a lot of these products accessible. What's equally important is educating the investors about not only the returns but also the risks in the underlying product. And only if like all the different startups which are coming up are able to educate their investors, especially on the risk part, it's only then the ecosystem can scale. At Mint, like we focus a lot on educating the customers. In fact, if any investor logs onto the website to make a transaction, there are three specific nudges designed only to educate investors about risk in the underlying product. Uh, so we have a dedicated education team which gets on WhatsApp calls, Zoom calls, etc., phone calls, etc., to educate our investors about the complexities, intricacies, risk in the underlying product. But yeah, your point is like very valid. Like all the startups which are coming up in the ecosystem,
Hmm.
they need to have a very strong focus on educating the investor about these new asset classes. Then only the product can scale.
Right, right. Thank you so much. So yeah, I mean, makes sense, and probably that is one of the hooks with which the customers would be adopting these products in the future as well.
Right, and it's like a very
Yes.
different from the traditional way in which some of these wealth firms have been running their businesses. Wealth as an industry has been uh, known for mis-selling products. So our hope is some of the new age startups which are coming up, they will reverse this trend, and the focus will be more on education and not only on selling.
Right,
And
right.
like since a lot of these startups are digital in nature, I think they are also forced in some ways to focus to remain transparent because when you do a digital transaction, it leaves a digital footprint, which is not the case with offline wealth players, where transactions happen in a one-on-one meetings over phone calls, etc. There, you don't have this digital trail which is there. But good thing in having these digital startups is any transaction, any conversation that happens, there is a digital footprint which is left behind. So
Right.
in some ways, like digital wealth tech models will ultimately bring transparency in the entire ecosystem.
Very valid point. I mean, yeah, makes complete sense, and probably how it should be progressing in the future also. So
Right.
these were the points that I had regarding the industry and the market. Now, considering that Uday is a platform for the students, and for the students who are looking to make a career in this space, what are the key opportunities in terms of job profiles, and what are the key skills a student should be looking to acquire to develop relevant knowledge and to build a future in this space?
Right, right. So even though like wealth tech is like a business model, but behind this business model, we have different verticals which work together. So there is a tech team, there is a design team, there is a marketing team, there is a manufacturing team, there is education team, etc. So I think first step for someone who wants to be in the wealth tech space is identify where his or her interests lie in the long term. whether someone has a technical bent of mind, is more interested in coding, or in marketing, or in manufacturing, or in pure finance. So once I think identifying that interest area is the first step. Once you have identified the interest area, then obviously, if it's a technical area, you need to acquire those technical skill sets. I mean, if it's pure finance, someone can pursue a course like CFA, FRM, CA, etc., to get the basic understanding about finance, accounting, etc. If someone is interested in having a coding as a career, they need to become expert in whatever coding language they want to pursue their career. But interestingly, startup offers a lot of generalist profile as well, wherein one doesn't need to have these hard skills. Rather, the focus is on while hiring, the focus is on individuals having certain softer skills. So, for example, we at Wintwealth look at individuals who have a hunger to grow, are curious in nature, can be a strong team player, take charge, and move forward. So for generalist profile, having those softer skill sets is very important. While if someone is looking at a very niche work line to begin with, then yes, one needs to have those technical skill sets.
Right, right. No, makes
And in
sense.
startup, I think
Yes.
in terms of like proportion, a startup will have like as many generalists as it will have like those technical experts. So the opportunities are there in both the fields. So one needs to like decide which field interests one more, and then accordingly move with it.
Just a follow-up question on this, Anshul. Normally, you hear that startups are very tech heavy, and they have a lot of engineers in their overall workforce. Is that something which is a myth, or since you said that there are as many generalists as there are tech driven people in the company?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a myth. Like in a few startups, it's quite possible. Like maybe 60-70% of the employees come from engineering background. But at Wind, I can say for sure, I think number of engineers, in fact, are lower than number of generalists.
Okay.
So, in fact, we like individuals who haven't who are like very early in their education cycle also. In fact, our youngest employee is as young as 18 years of age.
That's
So
very
he's like pursuing his college also, and in parallel devoting some time at Wind also.
Okay, that's great to know. So a lot of non-engineer people can also apply in this space and learn and grow.
Yes,
That's
yes.
that's great to know, Anshu. So I think that sums up our conversation. What I'll do is I'll just one quick thing. So I'll just end the conversation with giving a brief to the students who are accessing this video for the first time in terms of how they can access future videos for all the FinExpert sessions. So for all the students, you can just go to YouTube channel, type Mumbai FinTech Hub. You'll see our entire the page here, and once you click on the page, then you'll access all the videos by clicking the video icon here. And here we'll have Wintwell session as well as all of our previous Uday sessions that we've had with different fintechs. Thank you so much, Anshul, for taking out the time to have this conversation with us, and thank you so much, Ankit, for helping in organizing this through and through. Great
Thanks,
speaking
Anjana.
with you.
Thanks. Pleasure speaking with you.